Hi, so this is our lab report for the decomposition of hydrogen peroxide. I'm going to go ahead and apologize in advance because I have a snuffy nose, and so if I sniffle, that's why. So here we go, decomposition of hydrogen peroxide. Our introduction is that this experiment will be decomposition hydrogen peroxide catalyzed by magnesium oxide to produce oxygen gas and water vapor. And observe the reaction. The chemical formula used to express the reaction is 2H2O, arrow 2H2O plus O2. The purpose of this lab is to observe the decomposition of hydrogen peroxide. Our research question is what happens when you decompose hydrogen peroxide? Our hypothesis is if we use manganese oxide to catalyze the decomposition of hydrogen peroxide, then it will bubble and form cloud steam because this reaction produces water vapor and oxygen. The materials that we will be using to conduct this experiment are a flask, 40% of hydrogen peroxide, magnesium oxide, and a glowing split. Our safety note is to always use the proper and appropriate safety materials that can be useful when handling flaming objects. You may want to consider performing this experiment in a fume hood. The procedure of this experiment is number 1, measure hydrogen peroxide into a flask. Prepare splint by lighting it. Number 2, put magnesium oxide into the flask to catalyze the reaction. Number 3, when water vapor and magnesium begin forming, place the glowing splint in. It shouldn't be fully lit in the neck of the flask to test for oxygen. Number 4, observe the reaction. Data. Immediately after the magnesium is placed into the hydrogen peroxide, water vapor begins visibly forming. Every time the splint is placed in the flask, it relights. After about 20 seconds, the water vapor and oxygen begin expanding outside of the flask and form a large cloud like steam. Data analysis. The reaction begins immediately after the catalyst is formed into contact with the reactant. Because the splint relights, we know oxygen is produced. The hydrogen peroxide decomposes so rapidly and produces so much water vapor that it continues to form into a cloud. Our conclusion is that our hypothesis that if we use magnesium oxide to catalyze the decomposition of hydrogen peroxide, then it will bubble and form into a cloud stream because of the reaction that produced water vapor and oxygen was proven correct. When combined the hydrogen peroxide and manganese oxide, the hydrogen peroxide rapidly decomposed, producing water vapor, which condenses above the flask, forming a cloud stream. The reaction also formed oxygen, which, as we know from our chemical equation, because a glowing splint relit and then placed into a cloud steam, causes it to react into it relighting. This experiment setup proved a safe and effective way to test our hypothesis, so we could not change anything should we perform this experiment again. Thank you for watching. Oh, also, Penmoon. Here in my gradebook, it says that I have an incomplete for my pH quiz. So if you could please change that because I did it. Thank you if you are actually watching this video. So